Welcome to your weekly brief with the Central Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Tony DeVito. Let's get started. At the front end of your weekly brief, Trump's election victory and historic landslide. Did Hollywood and political heavyweights influence the election? A surprising coalition, Trump's 2024 win, fueled by significant gains among women, Black, Hispanic, Muslim, and white voters alike. And at the back end of your weekly brief, Hamas calls for a peace after the U.S. election. Deployed North Korean troops in Russia, and the internet. Putin's reaction to U.S. election fuels Ukrainian concerns. And federal agency sparks controversy with a vulgar tweet. All right, let's get started with Trump's election victory and historic landslide. In a historic outcome, Donald Trump won the 2024 election by a considerable margin, drawing comparisons to the landslide victories of 1964 and 1980. Analysts are examining what led to the decisive win, with factors including the strong messaging on economic recovery, national security, and immigration reform resonating with many voters. This election will likely go down in history as one of the most significant in recent decades, prompting scholars to discuss how Trump's appeal compared to previous landslide victories. His ability to galvanize the base and attract undecided voters will be studied as a part of this historic election cycle. You can also listen to our episode 5 called The Day After, as I explain what happened and why he won and why Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party was rejected this election. Democrats' reactions to election results. In the wake of Trump's victory, several prominent Democrats are expressing concerns and speculating on the role Hollywood elites and party veterans may have played in shaping the election's outcome. Figures like George Clooney and Nancy Pelosi have come under scrutiny, with some insiders suggesting their influence may have hindered rather than helped Democratic chances. There is a growing conversation within the party about realigning its strategy to better reflect voter priorities and avoid over-reliance on celebrity endorsements. The finger-pointing is setting the stage for significant introspection as Democrats assess what went wrong and what adjustments may be needed to regain momentum. We shall see if they come back with the same old playbook, or if they go back to the era of JFK Democrats. Only time will tell. Trump's broad support across demographics in 2024 election. In the 2024 election, Donald Trump's victory was marked by significant gains across a diverse coalition of voters, including surprising support from women, Black, and Hispanic voters. According to exit polls, Trump garnered 46% of the overall vote among women in this election, whereas in 2020 he only received 43%. This reflects a shift from previous election cycles. His support from Black voters rose to 18% from just 4 years ago. And among Hispanic voters, he received 42% this time and only 35% in 2020. Analysts attribute this broad support to his messaging on the economy and national security, which resonated across various demographic groups, making his win a landmark in terms of voter diversity. We don't have national numbers yet, but in Hamtramck, Michigan, the first majority Muslim city in the U.S., Trump received 43% of the vote, up from just 13% in 2020, while Harris secured just 46%, which is down from 85% that Biden had received just 4 years ago. If Trump was a misogynist and a racist, we would not have a 3% increase in votes from women, a 10% increase in the Black vote, a 7% increase in the Hispanic vote, and what appears to be a 30% increase in the Muslim and Middle Eastern vote, at least in one town. I think we can say that Trump and his supporters being racist, misogynists, and xenophobes have been fact-checked and debunked. Sorry, Politico, but it's just another far-left lie and part of their gaslighting strategy. It seems the jig is up and the American people are no longer being tricked. Oh, and Donald Trump just named Susie Wiles as his chief of staff. She will be the first female chief of staff in the history of the United States. I know, what a real misogynist thing to do, right? Get a grip, folks. Economic news in the U.S. job market. The U.S. job market continues to show signs on both growth and contraction. Data from the past month indicates job creation in sectors like healthcare, technology, and hospitality, but a slowdown in sectors such as manufacturing and retail. Economists are closely watching the impact on the stock market, which has shown increased volatility as investors react to these mixed signals. Unemployment rates remain stable, but inflation concerns persist, affecting consumer confidence. Some analysts predict that if job growth doesn't become more consistent, the Federal Reserve may need to reevaluate its current policies on interest rates to stabilize the economy. For now, the job economy remains a focal point in economic discussions, especially as the nation approaches the holiday season, which typically brings a seasonal boost to employment numbers. Today, the Fed reduced the interest rate from 4.75% to 4.5%. Hopefully, this reduction in the interest rate will help encourage some economic growth. There is a mountain fire in Moore Park, California. California's relentless wildfire season continues with a new blaze in Moore Park, where strong winds and dry conditions have fueled the fire. Known as the mountain fire, this blaze has prompted evacuation orders for residents in affected areas. Firefighters are working around the clock to control the spread, but red flag warnings remain in effect, signaling the conditions are ripe for the fire to expand. Local officials are urging residents to stay prepared, as changing weather patterns could either aid or hinder containment efforts. The fire serves as a reminder of the ongoing challenges California faces in combating wildfires. AFRICOM and tech giants collaborate on military AI. The U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, has entered into a partnership with major tech companies, including Microsoft and OpenAI, to develop artificial intelligence tools for the military. This collaboration is part of a broader effort to integrate advanced technology into defense strategies, with potential applications in intelligence, surveillance, and operational efficiency. The involvement of a private tech company in military operations has sparked ethical debates, with critics concerned about the implications of using AI in warfare. AFRICOM urges that these technologies could enhance their ability to respond to threats while minimizing human risks. Nonetheless, questions about transparency and oversight remain, as the public and regulatory bodies demand more clarity on how these AI systems will be employed. I could see AI being useful for intelligence collections when using drones, as the need for human intervention would be minimized. Israel-Gaza conflict continues to escalate. The situation between Israel and Gaza remains tense and volatile. With the conflict intensifying over the past week, Israel has conducted numerous airstrikes across Gaza, reportedly in response to rocket attacks. These strikes have led to significant civilian casualties, with both sides suffering losses. The humanitarian toll is rising, and basic necessities like electricity, water, and medical supplies are becoming increasingly scarce for those affected in Gaza. The international community, including the United Nations and humanitarian organizations, have called for a ceasefire, though little progress has been made in this direction. As global powers debate on how to intervene diplomatically, the region's long-standing issues of occupation, displacement, and sovereignty continue to complicate negotiations. Observers fear that without a de-escalation soon, the humanitarian situation could worsen even further. In a related story, Hamas calls to end war after U.S. election. In a notable turn of events, Hamas leaders have issued a public statement calling for an end to ongoing conflicts, coinciding with the results of the U.S. election. The statement has prompted speculation about how the election results might influence future U.S. foreign policy decisions in the Middle East. Hamas's call could be seen as a strategic move, aiming to leverage the international attention on the region to secure a peaceful resolution. Analysts are closely watching how U.S. policymakers respond, as this could set the tone for future engagements in the Middle East. Sounds like to me that Hamas is afraid of Trump, and rightfully so after seeing what he did to ISIS last time he was in office. Maybe Trump will be able to get the remaining hostages back from Hamas and bring this war to a peaceful end and a much-needed resolution. The Ukraine-Russian war developments. In eastern Ukraine, the war with Russia has reached new levels of intensity. Russian forces have focused on expanding their foothold in strategic areas, especially as Ukraine continues to resist with international support. Recently, Russia's increased reliance on missile strikes has raised concerns about civilian safety in urban areas. Ukraine, meanwhile, has ramped up its own defenses with aid from Western countries, leading to a significant supply of equipment, munitions, and training for Ukrainian troops. As winter approaches, there are growing fears about energy shortages, especially as Russian attacks on infrastructure threaten power supplies across the region. Economists are also warning of a potential ripple effect on global energy prices as the conflict disrupts supplies of critical resources. With neither side showing signs of conceding, experts suggest that the situation is likely to remain highly unpredictable. In a related story, deployed North Korean troops in Russia abusing more than their own people. In a surprising development, reports indicate that North Korean troops deployed to support Russian operations have been spending a notable amount of time accessing Russia's more open internet, particularly engaging with pornography sites, a stark contrast to the tightly restricted internet access within North Korea. This unexpected behavior has raised questions about discipline within the North Korean forces and highlights the difference in internet freedoms between the two nations. The presence of North Korean troops in Russia marks a rare instance of North Korea's military involvement abroad, which has drawn international attention and criticism. Which then Putin released a statement to the North Korean troops. "You're welcome." I'm kidding, he didn't say that. I will say that this is an interesting problem to have, and what happens when you keep people hidden from the rest of the world. Hopefully they brought extra fuel for those generators to keep their phones charged, and maybe some extra tissue as well. Putin's reaction to the U.S. election fuels Ukrainian concerns. Following the recent U.S. election, Russian President Vladimir Putin's positive reaction to the outcome has sparked concerns among Ukrainian leaders. Ukraine's government fears that shifts in U.S. leadership could impact the level of military and financial support it receives in its defense against Russia. Putin's response has deepened anxieties in Kiev, where officials worry about losing a critical ally as they face an intensified Russian assault in the east. With both countries bracing for the impact of potential policy changes, this development highlights the fragile nature of Ukraine's alliances and the broader geopolitical implications of U.S. foreign policy shifts. Trump is going to take office in 75 days. I'm only guessing he may come to an agreement between Ukraine President Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. I'm basically throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, but I can imagine that Russia will walk away with some of the eastern half of Ukraine becoming part of Russia. It would also be nice to see Russia assist in rebuilding Ukraine, since, well, they are the ones who destroyed it. China and Taiwan tensions. Tensions between China and Taiwan have escalated further, with an increase in military activity near the Taiwan Strait. China has reportedly conducted military drills, which Taiwan perceives as a direct threat to its sovereignty. In response, the U.S. and its allies have voiced strong support for Taiwan's autonomy, urging China to exercise restraint. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing, but experts warn that an accidental military engagement could spark a large conflict. The situation has not only regional implications, but also affects global trade, as Taiwan is a critical hub for semiconductor manufacturing. Both sides are aware of the economic impact that a conflict would have, yet nationalist sentiments and the strategic importance of Taiwan make this an ongoing point of contention. I am sure President-elect Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping have already had a phone call to discuss the situation at hand. We will keep a close eye on this and hope for a resolution in the coming months. And here's our bonus story. Federal agency sparks controversy with a vulgar tweet. A federal agency responsible for overseeing the U.S. draft recently found itself in hot water after reposting a vulgar tweet that suggested America is becoming like Nazi Germany. The tweet said, "For all you stupid fucks out there that still believe military service will be voluntary, remember Germany, 1936. Read the ex-post shared by the Selective Service System. The tweet was initially posted by an ex-user going by Slow Joe. The reposted tweet sparked immediate public backlash, with many questioning how such a statement could have come from an official government agency. The post was quickly deleted, and the agency issued a formal apology stating that the retweet was accidental and that they removed it as soon as they discovered it. This incident has led to broader discussions on social media management and accountability in federal agencies, especially at a time when public trust in government is a sensitive issue. Well, at least whoever posted that tweet stayed on topic and tweeted about something regarding the draft. What an idiot. I'm certain only a handful of people, if that, have access to managing the X account for the Selective Service. So they will likely find out pretty quickly who is responsible for the tweet, and that individual can expect to be added to the current jobless numbers for the quarter. Well, that's all for this weekly brief. Thanks for joining us, and I look forward to briefing you next week. Be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button to continue following us and listening to our podcasts. My name's Tony DeVito, and we'll see you next time.